This mystery object was found in the museum collection of the Old Mission at San Miguel in Central California, and so might have had a religious, musical, farming or monastic life usage. The mission was founded in 1797, so the object could be 200 plus years old and be of Spanish origin. It's a rectangular wooden box with a shaft through the middle and a crank handle to turn the shaft. The shaft has stubby rectangular metal pins sticking out of it in 3 spirals, where the spacing of the pins seems to increase exponentially. The blades are spaced in an increasing pattern, leading me to suspect that the shaft is in fact the wrong way around in the display case. What is this thing? It's an 18th century tobacco cutter and meat grinder. You chop the meat into cubes and place it in the very coarse area. Then as you turn the crank, the meat moves down towards the finer blades and eventually you end up with ground chuck. There should be a hole in the top where the meat chunks are dropped in when the apparatus is closed. You could also grind tobacco leaves with it, but the leaves would have to be balled up. The thing is in backwards and it'll never work the way they have it. You should probably tell the curator of the Mission Museum. What exactly is this tablet? It appears to be an Akkadian cuneiform, but I can't tell if it's Hittite or Sumerian. I saw someone posted it on the internet as a joke post. I usually can recognize tablets like this, as in where and when they're from, but I couldn't find this one. It must be 13th or 14th century. I tried doing a reverse image search, but nothing very useful came up. Any ideas? It is indeed from the 14th century BCE. This is one of the scholarly tablets from Akhetaten or Amarna in Egypt, probably used for scribal training. More specifically, it's the portion of the myth of Nergal and Ereshkigal that's held in the British Museum. The rest of the text is in Berlin. What is this thing I found in a flea market? Approximately 18 pounds and 22 inches long. There are no markings, and it's solid like a bowling ball. I've done image searches on antiques, but nothing close enough to make me think it's ivory or bone. I would say wood, but it's more dense than wood, and it does not echo when you tap on it. It's also not a tusk because it looks like wood, but it's not. I've checked Nat Geo online for info on tusks, but didn't have results that gave me anything useful. Any suggestions? It's called scrimshaw, the art of carving on animal tusks usually at sea, in the 17th to 19th century. On whaling ships, the bones were mostly considered a waste product without any significant economic value. As a result, whalers would pass the time by carving bones similar to whittling instead of wood. That piece is hollow, so it's probably not a bone from a whale, but it could be a tusk of other animals hunting for blubber, like a walrus. What is this brass or gold thing hung on a wall in a Dutch cafe in Hanover, Germany? Approximately 40 by 40 centimeters in size. We thought it might be a kind of ancient iron for laundry, which would explain the handle, but for that purpose, it seems a little big. I'd be really interested to know what this is or what it's used for. I simply sent them an email, and this is their reply. The piece is a part of an old furnace and inspection hatch made of brass. It was not used for baking, but for firing and control of the heating process. It dates from the end of the 18th century or even the beginning of the 19th century. My great-grandfather was in World War II. Apparently he found this in Germany. I've put it through Google Translate. It is German, and the most I could get was always in the Witches of Loyal Patriots. I'm very curious to learn what this thing is. It's a Berlin KPM porcelain commemorative cup and saucer with a bisque relief of Queen Louise of Prussia from the early 19th century. The above dedication in golden brown outline writing, "She lives forever in the hearts of loyal patriots." I found this in our garden today in New England in the US. It was under a foot of dirt, and our house was built in the 1920s. The property was originally part of a 19th century farm. Can someone tell me what it means, what language it is, and how old? It's a mid to late 18th century Russian bronze rosary pendant. It has an Orthodox cross with Cyrillic text on it, indicating maybe Russian, Ukrainian, or Bulgarian. Today it is a symbol of the Russian Orthodox Church and a distinctive feature of the cultural landscape of Russia. What is this item found in the collection of China and fine dinnerware? It should be from the 1930s or 1940s, if it's the same age as everything else that it was with, made of sterling silver. And it separates into two pieces. The bottom is almost like a cup or vase. It actually looks pretty much just like the salt and pepper shakers but much bigger. Any ideas? It's a sugar caster, a holdover from the 18th century, when having sugar on the table was a status symbol. Sugar came in solid blocks called sugar loaves, which needed to be broken into smaller pieces to use. Only the wealthy could afford the effort needed to produce the small granules needed for a sugar caster. This style was reproduced into the 20th century, but has now fallen out of use. We use one with sugar and cinnamon mixed to shake on toast in the morning. What is this Arabic book my father bought a while back? It is bound in leather and is totally in Arabic. The leather seems to have shrunk a bit, and interestingly enough, there seems to be different handwriting in it. I've gotten very little info on it, other than it's pretty old. I took a picture of the first page, the last page, and random ones in between. Any idea what it is, or how old? I was able to read some of it, and from my understanding you have quite a bit of history on your hands. The book in your possession seems to be a notebook probably belonging to an old academic. It had notes on Arabic grammar as well as politics and religion. On the last page, it seems like it's about the Islamic rules for divorcing. The earliest it was written in or after the 12th century. This corresponds to what I would guess from the diacritic and vowel signs. The text has a smattering of modern Arabic vowel marks, which were not invented until the 11th century CE. Actually, the more that I look at this, the more I start to think that there were at least 2 or 3 people involved in copying it. If you and your father are open to the idea, you should donate the book to a museum, or at least get it properly appraised by a historian or archaeologist. What kind of shield is this? I found it in the attic of a very old house we just bought. I think it's made of brass and hand engraved. Any help is appreciated. It's an Indian dowel shield. This type of shield demonstrates the Persian influence on Indian culture that was present during the Mughal Empire, which lasted from the 16th to 19th century CE. The design originated in India and spread to Persia and the places in between the two, modern-day Pakistan and Afghanistan. These were ceremonial rather than practical, and for example one was given to King Edward VII by the Maharaja of Kashmir when he toured India in 1875. What's the purpose of the arms on this strange chair? When you pull them all the way out they cross in the front. It was in the salon area of a wedding venue in southern Indiana. Apparently, it was some old dude's house before being turned into a wedding venue. We joked that it was an old gynecologist's exam chair. Any ideas? Please let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Let's make life fun.